Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such up. He's left on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
A very good evening from Scotland for round 7 of the UkSimracers MX5 season number 2 for 2024, as we are at the Knockhill racing circuit, but we're not going around the traditional 1.3 mile layout. No, we're going the other way around, so it's going to be an interesting test for everyone tonight. My name's Alex Goldschmidt, and joining me in the booth tonight, we'll be bringing him in very, very shortly, Mr. James Parfitt. But this circuit celebrates its 50th anniversary in 2024, first opened in 1974, and as you can see, altitude 262 metres above sea level, and uncharacteristically in Scotland, well, for this particular evening, it's looking rather sunny. Air temperature just under 20 degrees Celsius, well, just over shade over 19, and 21 degrees track temperature. Humidity round about 66% at the moment, but it is round 7 out of 12. And we've got 4 exciting races to come up very, very shortly. Coming to the tail end of the free practice session before we go into the first of 5 respective sessions, of which will be a 15-minute qualifying session. Then we'll have the first of 4 races tonight. So we'll have race 1, which the grid will be decided by the routine of qualifying. And then whoever finishes 12th in race 1 becomes the top 12 reverse grid pole sitter for race 2, and then we have a completely mixed grid for race 3, and then we also have another reverse grid pole for race 4. But as the checkered flag comes out for the lengthy practice session here at Knockhill International Reverse, let's take you through the points coming into this 7th round of the season so far here at Knockhill. Tom Griffiths currently leads on 819 points, 110 ahead of Daniel Hunt, with Miles Owens from SimRace Sweden Esports on 635. Qualifying has now just started, so we'll get through the formalities as soon as possible. Ralph Cullinan and PVG, Pete Mangle. Good to see Daze Van Gaal, his nephew, in the chat, so welcome back. Pete is currently P5, just 41 points ahead of Steve Hefford, his Momo teammate. Team Chimera's Jamie Wilson is in 7th, ahead of Year 1's Colin Sansom. Then you've got Pete Newman from Pure Sims and Charles Kellerman from Optical Green rounding out the top 10. Martin Sampson, Jamie Ayres, Andy Littler, Fiona Siddons, Mick Barry, Darryl Wright, Arnaud Chanonier, and Callum McPherson round out the top 18 in the championship standings so far. But then we get over to the team side of things very shortly. It has been a bit of a good run for Tom Griffiths so far, as there is myself and James in the green room a little bit earlier on. We're talking about the fact that cars are going to be going skywards, like literally all 4 wheels in the air. So let's bring in the man, the myth, the legend himself into the booth. James, good evening. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one tonight, mate. We're going the wrong way round Knockhill, so anything is possible.
Yes. That's what we were saying before, weren't we? We both sat here, we've been in here watching, well, I've been in here since about 7 o'clock just watching, and there was literally everybody off the circuit and up in the air going through the chicane. So it's going to be an interesting one. We'll show you why it's interesting here on board with Darren McLean. Now, it's one of them sections. It's completely blind, right? This isn't the only blind corner. It's completely blind. You're aiming at the top of the pole and you're hoping for the best, and that's all you see. Right, there is literally a top of the pole. That is all you see, and you hope for the best that you've gone over the other side. You can just see the bollards on the left-hand side there. Now, that's one of the things they've got to look out for. The other thing is there's a lot more blind turns on here. Now, I was sat here thinking there can't be that many, surely. But then I did a lap, and I realised actually there's a lot more blind apexes than they can actually see. And here's one here. You can't see it till about now. Again, you aim, point, shoot, and hope that you get to where you've got to go. And of course, we're coming up to the chicane, which is also blind. You take the first corner, the first part, and then you hope. And that is what could happen to you. As you can see, the rotating Jamie Ayres in front of us. So they've got to be careful tonight. There could be a few dramas. A 10th lost in that chicane could be the difference between gaining positions. You shouldn't be afraid to lifting and just making sure you get through that section properly, while everybody else could be doing a bunny up on the way through, to be honest with you. It's been very interesting to watch, I've got to be honest.
Well, you know what, let's take people through a hot lap around here at Knockhill International Reverse, and let's stay with Dan Hunt in the number 7 DOF Reality Sim Racing Studios car that is currently leading the way in qualifying. As we're heading down into the left-hander here at Clark, so blind apex, mount the curbing, don't over-rotate coming through, then it's through Brabham before we head into the chicane. Again, just skyward, try and catch the slide through into Butchers, and then into the next left-hander here at McIntyre's, and then we actually go reverse up Duffer's Dip rather than down it. So it's up over the hill, through the left-hander, and that is effectively around about 55.2 seconds. Darrell Wright has called, well, isn't it, if I remember correctly, the minute you go into the pits, your qualifying session is at an end. So Darrell Wright is 10th. So we're going to have a look at the replay here with the 84. That's Darrell Wright. And this is going to be through the chicane, and he's going to go off onto the kitty litter, and bang, straight into the barrier. Front end is a bit of a mess.
And that happened while he was on the hot lap. We just saw him in front of Dan Hunt go off the circuit. Now, he isn't going to be the only one. Okay, let's put it this way. All of these have done that at some point. And I think it's going to be a very interesting area of racing. That one chicane section could be the difference in between winning and losing, Alex. I think that's how much of a massive part it plays, because you're coming off, you're hoping that the car is going to stay there when you put the four wheels in the air when it lands, and they are all in the air. There's no way round it. They're in the air, so you are relying. It's going to grip when it comes down. You can see here with Andy Littler taking it a little bit more conservative, but if we go on board or go and watch Tom Griffiths, you'll see there's a difference in how to approach it. And again, he will just jump it, and you've just got to rely that the car's not going to grip like it did for Darrell Wright and shoot him off to the left-hand side, because that's how bad it can be. So could be winning or losing in that chicane. I'm trying to put it diplomatically.
Well put, sir, but I had to have a little bit of a giggle because Miles Owens was 2 wheels up into the air coming in towards McIntyre, and then you got Duffer's Dip. Here we have the legend that is Mr. Mick Barry. He's going to go through the chicane now. That was actually quite a nice little attempt. He just sort of tried to turn the car towards the left through the chicane to just get the run, as that was the 87
Jamie Wilson
of Team Chimera backwards in the kitty litter. Oh dear. PVG's decided to go into the pits and is currently 7th, but it is Tom Griffiths who is leading the way on a 54.934. Pete who was that was backwards? Is that Sir Alan Toon, I think?
Yeah, Tooney going backwards as well. And it's Knockhill was bad enough when you're going the right way. when you're going, when you're going the wrong way, that can happen. Poor old Alan.
That was coming out of Clark. Yeah, that was coming out of Clark.
Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting evening. If you just sit at home and watch what goes on here, because I think with how close these guys race, I think this is going to provide probably one of the best races of the season over this whole round, because they are going to be, throwing them cars around like nobody's business.
Yeah, there's going to be more jumps than a 3,000-metre steeplechase at the Summer Olympics, in all honesty. But yeah, Tom Griffiths. Mick Barry's just got up to 9th on a 55.793 as the front end of Tom Griffiths' car was skywards going through the first part of the circuit. Looks like we've got a new driver fastest in the first sector. Griffiths has gone purple in sector 2. Dan Hunt, who's improved in both the first and second sectors, has just aborted his lap, coming as he went wide, coming into the left-hander at McIntyre's before Duffer's dip. Fiona Siddons seems to be improving as well. She's currently 15th at the moment. She makes her way out of Duffer's dip and goes over the start-finish line and heads on the run down towards the tight left-hand hairpin here at Taylor's. So you've got a very different.
That's a massive improvement. Sorry, she just gained a second. She went from 56.5 to 55.8.
Wow,
huge.
And she was 15th as well. Well done, Fiona. And she's got a bit of a toe here from Mr.
Miles Owens.
I can send it, Miles Owens. And just look at the speed she just carried through out of Clark. That was nicely done there by Fiona, as they've gone through. I did say, look, Miles Owens is tonight's Mr. Excitement. Forget Tom Griffiths. That was like literally yeet over the chicane and through Butchers from Miles Owens.
I'll tell you what, I don't think I've looked forward, just watching these in practice and qualifying, I don't think I've looked forward to a race so much than what's going to happen in race 1. I'm just hoping it ain't like the Grand National where somebody gets loose and they all end up piling into the back of them. I can tell you that much. Oh, mate, this is going to be... Wow, I'm not sure what it's... Charles Caliban has just gone round right in front of us as well, unfortunately for Charles. This is going to be insane. Literally insane.
I think you take the words right out of my mouth there, James, to be completely honest with you. But yeah, Miles Owens just is absolutely giving no quarter at all. There he goes, up airborne, 2 wheels on the grass. That time at least he was a bit more reserved through the left-hander at Butcher's, but one of the things you don't want to be is a car that's literally nigh on the racing line as the drivers filter their way through the chicane. There's Steve Hefford in the number 72. Who was that? That was Callum McPherson. The 350 went off and rearranged the front of the car.
Yeah, he did. And look, funny enough, he's at the chicane, it grips, it gets it all out of shape already. He can't correct it, and then it's just, well, see you later, basically.
Murder She Wrote happened right there for the front bumper for him.
Steve Hefford's having a rough one at the moment. He's only down in 14th here. As Jamie Ayres goes off now as well. So another one taking a trip off the side of the circuit. So Steve's got his work cut out. He's down in 14th. It's not a massive gap. You know, he's on a 55.9. He's only got to get up a little bit from that if he can. 55.3 will bounce him up into sort of the 5th, 6th, 7th area. So it isn't a massive time gain that he's got to find, but to find him down in 14th, when you've got a quick person down that low and they're going to be coming through, it's going to be an interesting race 1 for Steve Hefford, I think.
Yeah, especially when you look at sort of like from 6th to 15th is where you don't really want to be, because that's where all the madness normally happens. But we have seen it before at smaller circuits, James, where it doesn't necessarily end up being the mid-pack. It sometimes can be those at the front end of the field who are the first ones that are effectively the guinea pigs going into that part of the circuit. So from that perspective, this race is where expect the unexpected, because it invariably will happen, no matter where you are on the grid.
No, I think, yes. No, hold on, I'm trying to figure out what would be the right answer to that. You are right. There you go, let's just put it that way. You are correct. This can be anywhere. This can be Dan Hunt for the first time going through the chicane. The car shoots up in the air like an absolute rocket. He grips, turns left. The car wants to go right. It all goes wrong. And next, you know, we've just got a big old pile-up. So It can be anywhere, you are right. It literally head on a swivel, turn yourself into an owl for 15 minutes, and hopefully you might be able to survive what could be absolute carnage.
Yeah, and we are coming down to the final 3 minutes in qualifying. So Dan Hunt leads the way on a 54.758. 5/1000ths ahead of Tom Griffiths. Pete Newman rounds out the top 3, the only 3 drivers to get into the 54s. Jamie Ayres, if he stops rallycrossing at the moment coming out of Clark, he might have an opportunity to get a bit closer. He's currently P4 ahead of Ralph Cullinan. Colin Sansom is the fastest one of the AMs, currently P6 ahead of Miles Owens, with Jamie Wilson running at the top 8. Great work so far by work guard by results. Fiona Siddons in the number 59. She was at one point just on 15th place. She's now 9th ahead of Darren McLean, and they round out the top 10 in the AMs. PVG, Mick Barry and Callum McPherson ran at the top 13 ahead of Steve Hefford, who's still trying to improve.
I'm wondering if they're working together here.
Yeah, he's trying to get a little bit of a slipstream, isn't he? He's just gone P12.
I think Jamie Ayres is pulling him along a little bit here, or giving him a line to try and follow. That's not going to help him, but trying to give him a line to follow through the chicane. I think Steve's got the rest of the track. I don't think he's got the chicane quite buried enough at the moment where he would want to feel confident hurtling it in. He seems very tentative. Oh, that's not going to help either, mind you, Steve. That, you know, he seems very tentative through the chicane compared to everywhere else. He takes things a lot wider. He doesn't take the initial curb on the inside when you can take it and jump it. You know, he just seems a little bit more wary, and unfortunately that wariness has put him down into 12th. And that's probably where, if we were to have a chat with him, where are you losing time, Steve? I'm losing it in the chicane because I just cannot get it right. And I think, by what I've seen over the last few laps on board with him, that's where the problem lies. But Pete Newman just got into pole on a 54.45.
Yeah, it looks like there's a bit of damage to the back end of the 72 as well for Steve. So that's probably not going to help him that much. But yeah, great work there by Pete Newman. That's a 0.3 of a second buffer between himself and Dan Hunt. That's absolutely mighty around such a short track. So Newman has been using the slipstream. So Hunt is still out on circuit. Griffiths is still out on circuit. Dan Hunt, along with Fiona Siddons, I think, were some of the drivers that completed well over 125 laps before the 3-hour practice session actually finished. So, you know, they've been some of them have been getting in a lot of wheel time, and that has really helped Fiona in terms of the qualifying side of things, because that's putting a P2 in AM, as Pete Newman has decided to opt to pull into pit lane. That's his qualifying session done. So Dan Hunt has really got to
He's not going to get it.
Well, he's in straight line here at Taylor's, and Jamie Ayres goes off and rally crosses again. So Dan Hunt pulls it, returns to garage. Steve Hefford also goes off. There's Tom Griffiths. Checkered flag is out for the session, and that, as they say, is that, with all 19 drivers having qualified. So here's your starting grid for race 1 of round 7. 4 races in total tonight. It's Pete Newman putting it on pole position with a mighty 54.453 ahead of Dan Hunt. Tom Griffiths and Jamie Ayres round out row 2 with Ralph Cullinan, and pole sitter for AM, Colin Sansom on row 3. Miles Owens and Jamie Wilson. Row 4, Fiona Siddons and Darren McLean make it an all-AM row 5, thereby completing the top 10. Great work there by Fiona in that particular occasion. PVG and Steve Hefford round out row 6 with Mick Barry, Callum McPherson, Charles Kellerman, Darrell Wright, Andy Littler, Steve Hansford and Sir Alan Toon, bringing up the rear of the 19-strong field, just waiting for McLean and Newman to ready up and get on to the grid ahead of this 15-minute race. Of course, we're going to see probably the best part of about 17 to 18 laps per race, depending on lap times, of course. So once McLean and Newman have readied up, we are waiting with anticipation of what thrills and spills will be provided right in front of our very eyes here at Knockhill International Reverse for round 7 of this second season. Newman is on the grid. McLean has yet to jump onto there. He's going to have to start from pit lane because the 5 red lights are going to start igniting now. 3, 4, 5. Green flag waves. We're off and underway for race 1 of round 7. of Season 2, 2024 of the UK SimRacers MX5s as Pete Newman leads Dan Hunt, who's got Tom Griffiths looking towards the outside as they go into Taylor's for the first time. Ayres in 4th, Cullinan 5th, Sansom in 6th, leading the AMs. Fiona Siddons holds on to P9. Steve Hefford has already got past one of the other drivers, Darren McLean, who was due to start alongside Fiona Siddons, didn't make it onto the grid, but Dan Hunt has already got through on Pete Newman for the race lead as they go down the hill. They're going to be heading their way towards the chicane, and that's the Momo car backwards. That's PVG.
Yeah, PVG is at the moment, he's off. They're all going to come filtering through now this chicane. There's Steve Hefford, he's had to drop down as well. They're all making it. That was a very tentative chicane from Steve Hansford there, I can tell you that much. But Hefford is at the back, and I'm wondering if he had anything to do with why PVG is where he is. And you can see these two are together. Steve. Yay. And that could explain why Steve then slowed down. He's going to allow Pete to come back through, and I wouldn't be surprised if it isn't too long before the guys at the back do end up swapping positions with Pete Van Gool and Steve Hefford. But at the moment, Dan Hunt leading the front line with Pete Newman and Tom Griffiths behind him, and it looks like we've lost Darren McLean at the moment here as well.
Didn't make it to the grid on time, probably didn't even make it onto the session. Might be back with us for race 2 coming up after this one, but with 13 minutes and 20 seconds to go, Dan Hunt has a lead of nearly a second over Pure Sim's Pete Newman, who goes Night Rider ski mode through Butchers, 2 wheels in the air on the left-hand side by absolutely walloping the curbs as they go the reverse way up Duffer's Dip this time. So, lap 2 about to be completed, and look at the lead that Dan Hunt has got. Pete Newman, Tom Griffiths, Jamie Ayres and Ralph Cullinan complete the top. Fiona Siddons has ended up in the pit lane. Callum McPherson, the 350, has gone off. But Hunt now has a 1 second advantage. We're going to have a look at the replay here. Now, this is Fiona Siddons coming through into Duffer's Dip. And, she's gone. And that's been a bit of a tank slap as she's collected the ball, hasn't she?
Yeah, that was...
And then ends up into, pinballs into the pit lane entry, and there's no other way.
No, it kind of puts behind the grandstand at that moment in time, which is a little bit unfortunate. But yeah, you can kind of see, gets it all a little bit loose, can't really hold it, goes onto the grass, tries to come back on, it grips and shoots into the wall there. And unfortunately, Callum McPherson, he went off track and he didn't come back on for quite a while. So it'll be interesting to see what exactly went on there. He's going to go yay. Round he goes, unfortunately for him. But Newman and Hunt and Griffiths still fighting out, and they're still not very far apart.
It's a bit of a repeat from last week, isn't it? But Jamie Ayres didn't really factor into it as much as these 3 did last time out, just 1 week ago. But they have got Ralph Cullinan. Jamie Wilson in the Team Chimera number 87 in 6th place is the fastest driver out there, 55.294. That gap is coming down between Hunt and Newman. It was nearly a second. It's now 4/10 as they go through into the chicane. All deciding to...
Jamie's got it wrong.
Cautious, but Jamie Ayres has just got it completely all wrong, and Ralph Cullinan's up the inside.
Yeah, and that was, again, it's our favourite part of the circuit, unfortunately. This is where it starts for Jamie Ayres. He gets it all wrong, onto the grass, no stopping it. Over he goes, and Ralph manages to avoid him. So fair play to Ralph for avoiding that one. But again, something that we did say was going to happen. Now Jamie Ayres is trying to come up the inside of Colin Sanson. Not going to be able to get it done this time around. Action further back. A lot of action further back. Steve Hefford, Pete Van Gool, Steve Hansford and Sir Alan Toon. Tooney's got the bit between his teeth this evening as he's sitting there trying to go at Steve Hansford. Hefford's run wide, but he makes it through. Them two on the charge back through, of course. But then again, we've got these guys trying to charge away from each other.
What was it? You asked Darren McLean what actually happened, and he said headset problems, which is quite unusual before a race.
Depends if they're Wi-Fi. Not Wi-Fi. Oh my God, wireless. Yeah, if they're wireless and they die. But then again, there's been reports as Newman and Hunt are currently side by side. I'll finish that tally in very short succession as they head down into Taylor's. Newman's trying to go round the outside, not going to get it done. Ayres can open up. He had the opportunity to open up the steering. Ralph Cullinan gets a big tank slapper in the background, but these guys still running side by side as they're heading down into Clark.
And Newman is just edged ahead, but Hunt is going to have the inside line through into Clark's. Down the dip they go. Ayres back through on Cullinan by a whisker, literally by the front bumper on his number 46 Mazda MX5. And look at all three of them. They're like hopping up and down like a bunch of rabbits trying to get through the Warren at the moment. But Hunt still manages to keep the back end a bit more in check. It was a little bit loose there coming through McIntyre's, as now he pulls the left-hand side. Newman's going to have the run, but Griffiths is going to pick his spot and stay behind Newman as they head in towards Taylor's. We're now on to lap 7 as Hunt goes side by side coming out of Taylor's. Oh, forces Newman a little bit wide. His two wheels on the gravel, still keeps the throttle pinned in. Griffiths decides, right, I'm going to stay behind Dan at the moment because I'm going to get a nice little slipstream through the railway straight. Now into Clark again. And this time, Griffiths gets through on Newman, makes the move nice and cleanly. Steve Hefford has had a moment, so has Sir Alan Toon, and now that gap's starting to open up again. But look at how wayward Dan Hunt's car was coming through the chicane and into Butcher's. He was all over the shop.
Yeah, he carried so much speed through, and it just unsettled everything. It looks like Hefford's been off the side of the circuit. Callum McPherson has had to jump to the pits. Fiona Siddons, after a great qualifying, has also had, well, that. But that was part, I think that's stemming from the accident earlier on. I don't think that repair's been completed. I think the pit crew have a lot to answer for if they've sent her out with half a front bumper. But these guys carrying it on. Newman and Griffiths still scrapping it out. Down the railway straight they go. Going to come down left into Clark. Get it down there through tidally. Jamie Ayres doesn't really take the apex as such when he comes through Clark. There's always a little bit of a gap, but boy, oh boy, he now takes that chicane at full pace, I can tell you that much.
Yeah, Tom Griffiths is also throwing a bit of caution to the wind as well, because Dan Hunt was very, very calm and composed through the chicane. Tom Griffiths went flat out and full pelt. And now, again, this could be the opportunity for Griffiths to get through. He's right in the wheel track. He's going to the outside of Hunt in the run into Taylor's. Newman's got to pick his spot. Behind them, they've got Ayres, Wilson and Cullinan battling over 4th place. Hunt still holds on to the race lead. A little bit of a wide exit from Tom Griffiths coming through out of Taylor's. And Newman is just keeping himself there or thereabouts. JB Wilson is swarming all over the back of Jamie Ayres like nobody's business, and now he's going to try and get the inside line as the 87 for Clark. Ayres decides no, you don't. Goes throttle pinned out of Clark. Cullinan's now looking up the inside of Wilson as they're going into the chicane. Oh, Cullinan nearly made it too wide, and that would have meant both cars would have been off the circuit, and that would have allowed Miles Owens, who's now right up with them, to get through rather easily.
I'm surprised we waited till lap 9 to see a remote too wide. Yes, it was remote, don't get me wrong, it wasn't actually too wide, but I'm surprised it's taken us till lap 9. Griffiths! Oh, he's hit Dan on. Oh, Hunt's managed to get it stopped. But Griffiths was all over the back of him like flies over honey there as well. And he literally got that close. They made contact. I thought Dan Hunt was gone at that point going into turn 1, but he did survive it. And now they're going off through Clark once again and down into our very interesting friend, the chicane. But to be fair, some of the incidents haven't even been in the chicane this evening. So, yeah, maybe we didn't quite get it quite right.
Well, there's still 3 more races, and you and I both know, expect the unexpected. James is probably on the menu for tonight, and that will be not just the, it won't be the aperitif like we've got at the moment, but it's going to be the main course and the dessert coming up later. But again, coming to that same kind of situation, Griffiths getting the run on Hunt, and he's going to have to pitch it to the right-hand side through into Taylor's. But can he get the crisscross here? That's the big thing. But no, he doesn't, because he gets punted by Newman on the left rear and turns the number 1 around. So let's have a look at this again. So Griffiths goes to the outside like he's been trying to do on Hunt all race long so far. Turns it in. Newman up the inside. Bang!
What? Now, I'm always big on the whole side-by-side situation, and I normally like to see overlapping, but there was a big old gap on the inside. I've got to be honest, was there a big enough gap that Newman could go through? That was the question. But it looks like... No, he's not alongside at the moment of turning, so I'll give him... unfortunately, I can't give him that one. But, yeah, that's killed the front battle, as both of them have gone off. Griffiths is trying to come back through. He's got Newman behind him. They're just about to try and fly past Colin Sansom. And Tom Griffiths does make it through there, going into Taylor's at turn, one.
Yeah, I think it was just the case, yeah, as you rightly said, what we saw from Pete Newman's onboard is that he thought, right, there's room, I'm going to try and go for it. He went for it. Griffiths had closed it off already. So if Pete was about halfway along, I could understand it. But it was just a bit of a late send, and it just turned Tom around, and it stumped them both down to 6th and 7th respectively, which means that Dan Hunt is now leading Jamie Ayres, and also going through as a result of that contretemps through turn 1 at Taylor's are both the pair of Result Clothing iRacing's Ralph Cullinan and SimRace Sweden's Miles Owens, and they have got a lead of about 1.7 seconds over Jamie Wilson. Wilson, who was just up the road. And there you see the battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th. Yeah, 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. Wilson is about 1.8 seconds or so behind Owens, but he's closing in on Cullinan. Now, we have seen Cullinan making a few unforced errors. Owens is gunning for that 3rd place. We've still got just over 3 minutes to go. We're on lap number 13 of this race, and again, Cullinan getting a bit, has got the brave pills out at the minute, going through Butchers after the chicane. Owens is taking it a little bit more delicately these days, as opposed to what we saw in the green room during free practice then when we went into qualifying. So Hunt at the moment looking very, very good at this moment in time here, James, because he's got a 2.5 second lead over Jamie Ayres, who on pace hasn't been as good as some of the other drivers such as Griffiths and Newman. But through a little bit of lady luck, he finds himself in 2nd, but Cullinan's not going to let him get away.
No, he's not. And I think for him, he, as you say, he's just lucked in. The problems up front with Pete Newman and Tom Griffiths having their own moments. There's been people off the track and, you know, everything else going on. He has fortunately got to where he's got to. And as you say, he hasn't looked like completely on pace. As Mick Barry has just cleared Pete Van Gool there. That's not something I would have expected, as these guys... Oh, okay, Pete sent it too wide. Mick turned around and was like, no.
I don't want any part of this.
See you later, Pete. No, just no.
Well, here's the battle for 2nd on the road. Jamie Ayres defending against Ralph Cullinan through Taylor's once again. So it looks like it's going to be one on one more. As Dan Hunt is about 30% of the way through this 15th lap of this race. But here comes Ralph Cullinan down the railway straight. And again, Ayres just defends it off nicely, covers off Cullinan, going through into Clark. Owens goes off, and that's lost him a heap of time. But Cullinan again, don't try and fend it, fling it through at the chicane and at Butchers. And by doing so, he's kept himself very, very much with Cullinan. As out of the final corner, it's going to be the run to the line. Let's see, is it going to be 1 and 1 more for Dan Hunt? Yes, it is. So he's come across the line on a 55.0. So 2 laps to go. And Ayres is still defending quite sternly in front of Ralph Cullinan. Miles Owens is starting to claw back that gap to 3rd again, which at its highest has been around 8.5 tenths of a second. It's now about 7. But Ayres still doing a sterling job just defending against Cullinan, who's trying every which way in the playbook to get through on the number 46 for 2nd.
Yeah, he's given himself an opportunity. Newman's just cleared Griffiths, going down into Taylor's into turn 1. Griffiths is, well, done that, so that's not going to help him either. But we are this is going to be a very close, whether or not he's going to get one more lap here. I've got a funny feeling he isn't. That's the checkered flag. It is going to be the checkered flag for Dan Hunt. He just held back a little bit behind Sir Alan Toon here. Didn't make the move. He's going to take the checkered flag.
So Hunt wins race 1 of round 7. Ayres takes second, 3/10 ahead of Cullinan. Owens P4, Wilson P5. Newman and Griffiths ran out the top 7. As it will be a win for Colin Sansom in the number 24 in the AM class, down in 8th ahead of Darrell Wright in the number 84, with PVG in the number 39 rounding out the top 10. Mick Barry in 11th ahead of Andy Littler, Steve Hefford, Charles Kellerman, Steve Hansford, Sir Alan Toon being the last of the classified finishers very shortly. We will also have Fiona Siddons coming across the line about a lap down. So, yeah, but Fiona Siddons, being the trooper that she is going to come across the line. No front bumper at all, but still make it across the line. That's going to be some solid points there for Fiona. But here is Sir Alan Toon. He's coming across the line now to be the last of our classified finishers. Callum McPherson out on lap 4. Darren McLean with Bluetooth issues, not taking the start on that one. But let's have a look. Let's review the results. So it was Dan Hunt winning ahead of Jamie Ayres and Ralph Cullinan in the top 3 in the pros, with Miles Owens, Jamie Wilson, Pete Newman, Tom Griffiths running at the top 7. It was the number 24 of Colin Sansom that picks up the opening victory of the night in the AM class, ahead of the number 84 of Darrell Wright. PVG, number 39, takes 10th, ahead of Mick Barry, who takes a podium this time around in the 675 in 11th, ahead of Andy Littler, Steve Hefford, Charles Kellerman, Steve Hansford, Sir Alan Toon, Fiona Siddons and Callum McPherson, with Darren McLean not able to take the start of the grid. But with that being in mind here, James, Andy Littler is on reverse grid pole for race 2 as he finished 12th, and we've got a little bit of a warm-up in progress at the moment as we speak.
Yeah, we've got a pretty 5-minute warm-up here, and I think Andy Littler's going to have a bit of a shot. McLean's back on, so that's great for him to be back there. I'm glad he sorted out any issues that he did have, so that's good. Looking forward to seeing how he gets on, of course, but I think going forward with it all, it's going to be interesting, right? Because we saw some interesting tight racing. We didn't see too wide in the chicane, which, to be honest, I'm glad about, and I think you're glad about, because it could have ended up in complete and utter carnage. But it was other areas of the racetrack that caused a problem. We only, by what I remember, I only saw 2 incidents. One with Jamie Ayres, and I think it was Jamie Wilson, possibly, who had an incident through the chicane. But everybody else seems to make it through. So maybe it's not just the chicane we've got to look out for here.
It's also Taylor's, because we had the contact between Steve Hefford and PVG, didn't we, early doors in the race. So having to go down a hill, and then you've got a hard break, then you've got to go all the way down the gearbox into first or second. And then, of course, that big impact between Tom Griffiths being punted through Taylor's by Pete Newman. That was the biggest thing. As Steve. Oh, dearie me. Spins around coming out of Taylor's and then lights up the rear tyres for good measure. I mean, Taylor's is another pinch point on this circuit. But then also Clark. Oh, Mr. McLean was literally... That was ski mode and then some. It's like someone's putting a rocket up the left-hand side of the fire, like a bonfire night firework on the left-hand side of Darren McLean's car, and just lit it and seen what's just happened.
He's a race short, remember. He wants to go and make amends. He didn't take part in race 1. He wants to be out there on the racetrack. He wants to be racing. So I'm very, very interested to see what Darren McLean's going to do this time around, I think, because he wanted to be out there. So let's see what happens. He might just go for it. You never know.
Well, I think what we just saw, that definitely says to us both in the commentary box that Darren McLean is going to make up for missing what, you know, it would have been really interesting to see, because he was lining up alongside Fiona Siddons on row 5, wasn't he, in P10. So we could have seen a very different composition to what we had in race 1 for the AM division, which was won by the 24 of Colin Sansom. So yeah, I'm going to be like you. I'm going to be really interested to see what approach Darren does, and I think it's going to be the lick the stamp and send it approach here at Knockhill. But whether that might cause problems, that's anyone's guess.
There's nothing wrong with licking the stamp and sending it, as you say, but it's how you lick the stamp and send it. If realistically you pull off a Pete Newman like he did in race 1 with Tom Griffiths, you're not going to make it through, right? If realistically you're tucked up right behind the guy in front and you go up the inside, realistically you're going to make it through. So it's okay doing that, but you've got to make sure you're doing it properly, you know, and not be silly about it. So I think, it's going to be interesting to see what Darren does. I think he's going to be at the back of the grid, so he's got to make up places left, right and centre. So that's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, checkered flag out for the warm-up, but very shortly we will have the grid for race 2 out of round 7. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe and hit that notification bell for any future broadcasts that are coming up. We've got the GT4s out next time tomorrow night. But James, we've got a grid for race 2. Take it away, buddy.
Andy Littler will be on pole with Mick Barry in second, Pete Van Gool in first, and third, and Darrell Wright in fourth. Rounding out row 3 is Colin Sampson and Tom Griffiths. Row 4, Pete Newman and Jamie Wilson. Row 5, Miles Owens and Ralph Cullinan. And row 6 will be Jamie Ayres and Dan Hunt. On from that, Steve Hefford in row 7 with Charles Kellerman. Row 8, Steve Hansford, Alan Toon, Fiona Siddons, Callum McPherson, Darren McLean right at the back. They are up and running. We have got green already, and now we are absolutely motoring. We are up and running, trying to go down into turn 1. It is Andy Littler out in front. Pete Van Gool's trying to go around the outside of Mick Barry into Taylor's. I'll be very surprised if that one works, as Mick can now open up the steering and close that one off. No real drama. Steve Hefford looks like he's had a moment, but he's still carrying on as Andy Littler leads us away down the railway straight. The Pete Van Gool, Mick Barry battling it out as they come for the first time through Clark. Pete Van Gool is looking racy here, Alex, early on.
Yeah, it looks like he's got the elbow sharpened on that number 39 Momo car, which rounds out the top 3 as they go through the chicane for the first time. Very conservative effort and very, very well done there by Andy Littler. But Mick Barry has got a head full of steam. He's got the fire lit in the belly, and he's got PVG right with him. Sansom rounds out the top 4 ahead of Griffiths, as again Barry trying to go through at the corner point of Duffer's Dip on Littler for the race lead. After lap 1, Littler leads by next to nothing, about a 1/10 of a second. It's going to be 3 wide from PVG. He goes up the inside of Mick Barry. Who's going to be the latest of the brave on the brakes? Mick Barry might carry the momentum around the outside, but PVG's got the race lead.
Oh, he did have the race lead, but that's kind of opened it up to everybody behind. Andy Littler was the biggest loser out of that. He's lost all the places. He's down in 6th. He's gone from 1st to 6th. 3 wide in turn 1 with Mick Barry and Pete Van Gool, and that sent him off the circuit. And Mick's gone round. Oh, Mick. Oh, he was doing so well as well.
Right, let's just have a look now. This is going to be into the left-hander. Clarkson just loses the back end, over-rotates. I think too many beans on the loud pedal from Mick there. And that has spun him around. But Colin Sansom finds himself between a rock and a hard place, because look who's behind him. Tom Griffiths in the number 1. The bright turquoise blue car, looking to send it up the inside of the 24 into turn 1 at Taylor's. This could open up the door for Pure Sims. Pete Newman, the 118, who isn't able to make it through. So neat exchange there between Griffiths and Sansom. But you know that with a big old head of steam and is right in the wheel tracks of the pair of them as they fly down the railway straight is going to be Pete Newman as PVG goes off the circuit coming out of Clark's. Miles Owens battling away with Andy Littler, who's got Dan Hunt behind. along with the flying Welshman, Jamie Ayres. Through the chicane they go.
Oh, Pete's off.
As Pete Newman's got off, and I think he might have hit the barriers, and he's come to a stop. He's having to wait for everybody to go past. Disaster for the 118 from Pure Sims.
Oh, Pete, what did you do, dear sir? Is this going into the chicane? It is. He's going to jump it. He's already jumped it sideways. He was trying to hold it. He kept it out of the barrier. Great work, but unfortunately that's put him all the way down in 15th. It looked like somebody else was been off the circuit there as well. It looked like the Irishman of Ralph Cullinan, I believe.
Yeah, well, that's got no front bumper on it, but Andy Littler is the cork in the bottle. Miles Owens looking towards the outside of him as they come down Railway Straight. Owens will have to run into Clark Curve now. Hunt might try and filter through. No, he doesn't. Andy Littler's going to be very, very careful how he exits the corner, and he spins around through in front of Dan Hunt.
Oh, I think that was an assisted. That was assisted there. I don't think that was completely Andy Littler's idea of a best overtake. He comes through, hunts up the inside. Littler's trying to be on track. There was already contact, and unfortunately Dan Hunt just continues to push. But Tom Griffiths now up front with PVG going around the outside, coming into Taylor's at the moment. PVG managing to hold on. Colin Sansom doing a great job in third. Has he got the opportunity for an overall? Well, it depends on how brave he wants to be on these two very speedy individuals in front of him. So Tom Griffiths there with Pete Van Gool coming around Clark as well on lap 5. 10 minutes remaining here, Alex. Can Colin Sansom take an overall, do we think?
I think he's going to be very, very mindful of what happens in front. Like we say with every single race on the UK SimRacers, as Tom Griffiths crossed up all over the shop, nearly got it all completely. Pete Tong did the number 1, and Miles Owens has had a drama of his own in the number 74, and he's completely sideways. That was out of the chicane. He's done a Pete Newman.
Yeah, but I don't know if this was all on his own here, because he's with Jamie Ayres side by side going into the jump, into the chicane. Ayres gets it wrong. Miles Owens gets it wrong. Owens doing his hardest. Ayres just trying to back on straight onto the track there, and Hefford does manage to avoid him, but I think Steve Hefford also has a moment after that and goes off the side of the circuit. So let's drop them down into the clutches of Callum McPherson, who is fighting out with now. So yeah, still great action, and PVG still at the front with Tom Griffiths as they go on their way through the chicane on lap 6 with 9 minutes remaining. The chicane's caught more people out in race 2 than it did in race 1 here, Alex, so they've got to be careful.
Yeah, I think it's just like the let's go for it, let's see what happens. And yeah, I mean, Miles Owens channeling his inner Stig Blomqvist after the slight ta-ta-ta with Jamie Ayres, as PVG was so close to the entrance of the pit wall. My godfathers, he literally nigh on scraped it by millimetres, and that has allowed Griffiths to get through.
Yeah, Griffiths did get through there. It's not an ideal scenario from Pete Van Gool. He's on the grass now. He's trying to go around the outside. Down the Railway Straight they go, coming into Clark. It looks like PVG got a bit of a head of a steam here. Griffiths is going to have the inside. He doesn't take the inside. PVG goes through. Is he going to stop it? He is, but they're going to be coming back at each other now as they run down into the chicane. As we're going down the Brabham Straight, over the chicane they go. Everybody makes it through. No real dramas. Dan Hunt battling away with Jamie Wilson and Jamie Ayres here all at the same time, and there's battles all the way through the circuit currently.
Yeah, it really has been more drama. Oh, Colin Sansom, very, very lucky coming out of the exit of Duffer's Dip. Still holding on to that third place. The gap between him and Jamie Wilson is 6.6 seconds. As again, Tom Griffiths looking up the inside towards Taylor's at turn 1 on Pete Van Gool. And the gap between them is 4.2 seconds. I think that might be Darrell Wright in front of them. As look, it's going to be 3 wide. Here comes Fiona Siddons looking towards the inside of Owens and McLean. McLean loses 2 positions on the spot. And Pete Newman is looking to spring a surprise on McLean in the number 55, who rounds out the top 10 and is going to try and go wheel to wheel with Fiona Siddons. Now this is for third in Am. Siddons gets in front, and McLean decides to back out of it but gets a run of steam. But Miles Owens got an all run coming out of Clark Curve, went wide onto the grass, onto the kiddie litter, And the number 74 drops down outside of the top 10.
Yeah, you got Pete Newman climbing all over Darren McLean at the moment. McLean is struggling again through that chicane. You can see the gap from Newman close right up there as these guys continually fight on this racetrack down this start-finish straight, coming down into Taylor's. That's going to open the inside for Pete Newman. He's going to make it through. Darren McLean, no room, going to be pushed out again. Is he going to lose a place to Miles Owens? Not this time, but they're on the run down the railway now before they come into Clark. Is it going to be all wrong again here for Darren McLean? He's not going to lose that place, I don't think, from Miles Owens. Owens not really got the option to go up the inside, but I'm sure this will carry on for the next 6 minutes as Colin Sanson has got a 7-second gap over this man who has got Jamie Ayres and Dan Hunt right behind him at the moment. So Jamie Wilson got his work cut out.
Well, Miles Owens has had 2 Code Brown moments already tonight, the biggest one of which was coming through the chicane and into Butchers as Hunt looks to go towards the outside of Wilson. That's going to open up something possibly for Jamie Ayres. They're into T1 here at Taylor's as Ayres is going to try and make it. Oh, he nearly threaded the eye of the needle right there. Did the number 46, but Hunt down the railway straight is going to get the run. He's actually pretty much a car length ahead of Wilson going down the railway straight through this fast sweeping right-hander into the left at Clark. Ayres loses out to Wilson, nearly came back at him as they go through into the chicane. Little dab on the brakes by Dan Hunt, and both Wilson was all 4 wheels in the air through Butchers, and now Griffiths sees that there's a bigger window of opportunity coming his way as both he and PVG head down into Taylor's at turn 1. We're on to lap number 11. Griffiths up the inside, tighter apex taken by the number 1, and that's the move cleanly done on the number 39 of PVG.
And that was a slight lock-up by PVG going into 1. He just went in a little bit rapid. He missed his braking point, probably no more than a couple of meters, and that is the result of what happened. Griffiths goes up the inside, gets the job done. Now they're coming into chicane. Now there's a back marker there as well. That's Darrell Wright in front of us. Over the curbs they go. You can see how them MX5s bottom out as they come down. You know, the front end literally is grinding the floor, like, and that's how it ends up gripping the car, is shooting off in all different directions. But Griffiths now got the Dutchman sat behind him. Is he going to be able to hold on? Darrell Wright gets out the way, says nope, not having any part of you. Van Gaal's going around the outside again. Can he cement in that place? He's got to try the cutback. He does. He's got to get the inside line. He has got it down on the runway, run down the railway, but can he hold it, Alex, going down into Clark?
PVG has got the inside line for the next left-hander here at Clark. He's going to force Griffiths to back out of it, and the Flying Dutchman gets through, but he runs a little bit, loses a lot of momentum on the run through Brabham. Into the chicane once again they go here on lap number 12, and PVG was sideways. He's lost all that momentum, and Griffiths round the outside through Butchers, and he gets the race lead back in his possession just by a slight unforced error. PVG all over the shop, and it meant that Griffiths was able to capitalise. But what this is doing is bringing Colin Sanson in the AM class lead in 3rd back into the hunt with 3 minutes and 40 to go.
Yeah, he is. He's slowly closing in 1.2 seconds. These guys continue to fight. You could just see from PVG put him all out of spot when Tom Griffiths got alongside him again going into the chicane. PVG had to take the inside line, didn't quite get it because it's a tighter entry. That jeopardised him for the curve, that jeopardised him for the exit, and that is what caused his problem coming out the other side. That allowed Tom Griffiths to go through. Hunt is battling with Wilson with Ayres there, but he's front 2, not leaving each other alone. Griffiths has got Van Gaal for company, and he's not getting rid of him here. PVG is literally trying everything. He wants that lead back. He's got a tighter run up through McIntyre and Duffers Dip. Down the start finishing line they go. This should be the overtake done. He's going to try the outside line again. It hasn't worked for the last couple of times for PVG. Is it going to work this time? He's going to go hard on the brakes. He's going to pull that MX5. Griffiths doesn't give him the option of the switchback. PVG's trying to get the run. Breathe in, run, and he's got the run, but he's on the outside as they go down into Clark again.
Yeah, PVG about half a car length in front, but Griffiths gets the lead back into Clark curve. But is he going to lose a little bit of momentum? He is, because PVG has got a better run coming out of Clark into the chicane again. They are bumper to bumper, these two. Got 2 minutes and 10 seconds still to go, so it's this plus, I think, maybe 2 more. So we're on to lap number 14 of this race, so it is going to be right down to the death between these two. And it's been a great battle so far. PVG and Griffiths giving each other enough racing room and enough racing respect to provide us with a great battle. But Colin Sansom could capitalise if one of these drivers, or maybe even both of these drivers, make an unforced error.
Yeah, through Taylor's we go. Once more down the railway straight, running down into Clark. Griffiths held on this time. It looks like he's going to hold on into Clark as well. I don't think PVG is quite close enough going into Clark. He's trying to run out. He carries some speed through Clark. There's Sir Alan Toon inadvertently trying to get out the way. Probably not the best way to put yourself on the grass, though, young sir. As he's now go through the chicane, they go up through Butchers, coming up through McIntyre, the left-hander, and then the Duffers dip here, which will be, I've got a funny feeling, the penultimate time, as I believe this could and should be the final lap. We'll keep an eye on what Barney's up to, as we know this does change here at this circuit. No, it is the final lap. Barney's a waving, and the final time here for Pete Van Gool to have a go at Tom Griffiths.
Just under 1.3 miles of the Knockhill International's reverse circuit here in Scotland, and PVG still putting the frighteners onto Tom Griffiths for the race lead, and invariably what will be the race victory here in race 2 out of 4 for round 7 of this season, as PVG looks to set it up the inside, then wheel to wheel through Clark. Oh, sideways from PVG, and he's lost all that momentum that he carried through the railway straights.
Oh, he was so close, so near. He's still not giving it up. Now we're on the left-hander here from McIntyre, coming up into Dover's Dip. It's going to be the run down to the line. It will be a run to the line. PVG knows he has to stay. Where he's going to be, it's going to be a run down to the line. I don't think he's going to have enough. I don't think he's going to have enough. Where is he? Oh, no! Oh, Jamie Ayres comes over the line behind Jamie Wilson as well. Oh, I love it when it's like that. That is just absolutely incredible. 0.029 of a second between them all. We've got Andy Littler fighting out with Steve Hefford. They're on the run down to the line as well. Now comes Andy Littler. Is Steve going to get him? He slots in for one more push of the draft. He's going to try to slingshot down to the line. It's going to be Littler. It's going to get that one there as well. Oh, I love finishes like that.
Run to the line. They've been bumper to bumper for pretty much the entire race. Well, Tom Griffiths takes the win in Pro, and Colin Sansom takes his second win of the night in AM. Yeah. So Colin Sansom really has got a good nous about this circuit, but here are the results from race 2 of round 7, folks.
Yeah, Tom Griffiths is your winner, and then behind that is PVG. As the results have decided enough is enough, we're going to go again. Okay, thank you very much for that one. There they go. Colin Sansom in 3rd, and Liam Victor. Then we've got Dan Hunt rounding out the top 3 on the podium for the pros. Jamie Wilson in 5th, Jamie Ayres 6th, Pete Newman in 7th, and Miles Owens rounding out the 8th spot. Charles Kellerman and Darren McLean. So McLean's first race here this evening, and he grabs a podium. We did say about Darren McLean and how he's going to do it. Well, he grabbed the podium. Great job from him. Fiona Siddons in 11th, Andy Littler 12th, Steve Hepburn 13th, Callum McPherson 14th, Steve Hanson 15th, Darryl Wright 16th, Sir Alan Toon 17th, with Ralph Cullinan down in 18th place, and Mick Barry is the last to finish. We're off. Guys, we're going to take a break as we're going to be heading over to the next session, but join us on the other side shortly.
Well, after 2 exciting races, we've still got 2 more to go here for round 7 at Knockhill Reverse for UkSimracers MX5 Season 2 2024. You rejoin myself, Alex Goldschmidt, and James Parfitt for what will be an exciting race 3, because as always, James, we have the added upping the ante, so to speak, of a complete mixed grid, and then for race 4, we've got a reverse top 10. But so far, we have had more highlights in this round alone of this championship so far, haven't we? Just from 2 races. It's been absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's been chaotic, hasn't it? There's been so much going on. We had Tom Griffiths battling it out with PVG in the first one. They come over the line by literally 0.02 of a second. Hunt and Ayres and Cullinan going at it in race number 1. It was just absolutely mental. And it's like Colin Sanson says on YouTube, that was the best seat in the house. He sat there in third, just watching them guys going at it. And it's just been incredibly crazy. And I think race 3 and race 4 is still yet to provide great action. But I don't think we're going to be wanting for too long, as of course we've got the random reverse for race 3, we've got that top 10 reverse for race 4, so it's really going to mix it up, and I think we could be in for more of the same here.
Maybe a few surprises to spring at our drivers for this particular stage of the championship. You know, round 7 being completed this week. It really has been quite an interesting one, all things being told, to be truthful, because there's still a few more rounds to go until we crown our spring season champion. Then we'll have the summer season, then we'll have the autumn season. We'll have a standalone champion for each season, but that come at the end of those 3 seasons in this 2024 calendar year, what will happen, folks, is that we will have an overall season champion for 2024, as they're still out there just getting the final few laps in. Of course, next week we will head to Imola for the MotoGP layout on the 30th of April. 7th of May we head to the full course for Mid-Ohio, then WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca on the 14th of May. Portimao, the full Algarve Grand Prix circuit variation, will be the penultimate round on the 21st of May, and then we cap off the spring season 2024 here for UkSimracers at a circuit that both myself and James love, as Barney waves the checkered flag. 28th of May, the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache in Interlagos in Brazil will be the final race evening of the season. But here's the grid for race 3 of round 7 here at Knockhill. Dan Hunt and Darren McLean on the opening row, with Charles Kellerman, Littler, Newman, Sansom, Wilson, Van Gool, McPherson and Owens rounding out the top 10. Then it's Darrell Wright, Jamie Ayres, Steve Hefford, Fiona Siddon, Steve Hansford, Tom Griffiths, Alan Toon, Mick Barry, and bringing up the rear of the field, Ralph Cullinan. Okay, revs rise. The 5 red lights start to ignite here at Knockhill. Lights are out, we're underway, and it's a good start from Dan Hunt. He pulls away initially from Darren McLean as they filter their way down towards Taylor's. Temperatures are a little bit lower than they were in race 2. It's just under 19 degrees Celsius. The sun is going to be very much in the peripheral vision as someone went straight on. That was Andy Littler at Taylor's and has lost a bag full of positions. Gets himself back onto the circuit in 7th. But Dan Hunt doing exactly what he did in race 1, getting an early lead of about 7/10 of a second. Whereas you've got PVG trying to go through at Clark and gets through on Andy Littler. Now has Colin Sansom ahead of him. Pearson and Ayres side by side on the run down Brabham into the chicane. But look at the lead that Dan Hunt has got. It's over a second. Oh, moment there. Big moment. That was Darrell Wright, and he hits the barriers head on coming out of the chicane.
Darrell Wright having a bit of a rough one there, but we're on board now with Jamie Wilson. He's going to tackle Colin Sanson. Then we've got a 1.2 seconds back to Miles Owens there. So Owens losing a little bit of time over that opening lap, but Wilson now with PVG. PVG trying to go up the inside. The door's definitely open. It's definitely an option for him. Dan Hunt opening up a second gap up front already with Darren McLean in second place. He's almost 8 tenths ahead of Charles Kellerman with Pete Newman Newman there as well. But PVG at the moment has got Jamie Wilson running alongside him as we speak. Almost too wide going through Clark. Not this time. Wilson's pushing PVG. There goes a couple of cars off. Oh, Jamie Wilson's off as well. Oh, I think there's more though.
Yeah, Sansom, Wilson, Kellyman was the first one to go. So this is the run through the railway straight in towards Clark. So Colin Sansom turns it in and he goes onto the grass. That was Wilson going off, and then Sansom, whilst trying to get back onto the tarmac, loses the back end. Was very, very lucky on that consideration, and that's a straight line through the chicane. Well, actually on the left-hand side of it. And now Jamie Ayres gets through on Miles Owens. That's for 5th place coming out of Taylor's. That's the battle for P5. Dan Hunt looking to make it 2 wins out of 3. He won race 1. Tom Griffiths won race 2. Colin Sansom all the way down in 13th. Is currently P5 in the AM class. He's won both opening races tonight, but Miles Owens is now latching on to Jamie Ayres, nearly bump drafting him into the chicane. Let's see who's a bit more braver with the cojones, so to speak. Well, Owens has just got 2 wheels in the air through Butchers and still has closed that gap to Jamie Ayres in the 46 in front of him.
Yeah,
crazy.
There's something off the side of the circuit down there as well. I'm wondering who that would be at the moment. I think it might be Colin Sansom again as he goes off the side of the circuit, unfortunately for him. And that is in Clark. Has he done the same thing again? It looks like he has. He manages to hold it this time, but has done the same thing. Oh, then goes into the chicane and then gets it all wrong. So he's gone from hero in race 2, sitting back in 3rd, and he's now all the way down in 16th in race number 3, as Darren McLean still hangs on for PVG and Jamie Ayres and Pete Newman with Miles Owens. Oh no!
Owens was the first one to make it 2 wide and make it work through the chicane. That's allowed Griffiths to get through on Newman. And let's not forget they have got previous from earlier races. If I remember correctly, that would have been from race 1. But here is Sir Alan Toon coming through into Clark, and
that's Andy Littler off the side. I wanted to see Miles Owens get through on PVG. How this one started 2 wide. Oh, PVG was off the Pete Newman was off the circuit, and Miles Owens goes and says thank you very much. So that's how he made it through. But they're still going here, and they're still going side by side down the railway.
And they've got Steve Heffer not too far behind them in the 72, who's not really had an evening to remember as the Momo driver. Oh, Newman goes wide coming out of Clark Curve. That's going to allow Steve Heffer to close on in. So Owens... Did you see the launch from Miles Owens? That was ridiculous, and he just landed it, all 4 wheels perfectly. Oh, Steve Heffer's just had a bit of a tank slapper, and he's gone off behind Pete Newman. Oh, dearie me, Steve Heffer's race evening has gone from bad to worse after that moment out of the chicane.
Yeah, PVG, Darren McLean running side by side here. Darren on the left leading the AMs at the moment. PVG sitting in 2nd for the pros. He's now got Jamie Ayres closing in. Then we've got Miles Owens, Tom Griffiths and Pete Newman. So these 2 groups are free, providing where the action is currently. And I've got a funny feeling there's going to be more of this to come. And these guys are going to continue to fight. Darren McLean and PVG literally nose to bumper through Clark on the run down now, coming into that chicane section. And again, we've seen how this one works. McLean looks a little bit more tentative to PVG and Jamie Ayres, and as you see Pete coming over there. Incredible.
He launched it. He absolutely launched it to PVG. My godfathers. I know he's a Flying Dutchman, but that just took the biscuit right there. And you got the 3-way scrap for 5th between Owens, Griffiths and Newmans. They're coming through out of Duffer's Dip and onto the start-finish straight, but McLean still battling away and holding on to the lead in AM. The next best placed AM is Callum McPherson, who's actually running ahead of Fiona Siddons. Ayres looks up the inside through at Taylor's on McLean for 3rd place as the number 55 runs a little bit wide, and Ayres gets through, but this is not stopping McLean for fighting back at it.
No, it's not. McLean's giving Ayres a good old fight here. And Darren McLean might find himself getting into the slips, caught up with Miles Owens' group of him, Griffiths and Newman, and that's not a group you want to be a part of anyway. So, oh, look at Miles. Miles Owens is just going for it now. He's just said, right, I'm there. I'm back on it like I was in practice, and now just going for it consistently, and he's still...
Oh, Ayres has gone off. Ayres has gone off and hit the barriers. That's Jamie Ayres out, I think. Let's just have a look what happened here. So it's going to be coming through into McIntyre's. He's lost the back end. Yeah, so it's sideways, and then he's gone... Oh, that's odd. And he's gone straight on. Must have been a hardware failure there, possibly.
Yeah, it looked like he had a bit of a disconnect problem there. Pete Newman looks like he's got to slow down. That's why he's slowing down behind these lot. He's lost places. Or is he just...
He just stopped. Oh, he started crawling again.
Yeah,
that's odd.
Yeah, I can't have an answer for that one, I'm afraid. But Tom Griffiths and Steve Hefford now going at it. This is the closest battle on the track. They're on their run down through Clark. Lap 8, 7 minutes to go here, Alex. Still a lot more racing and still a lot more times through the chicane.
Look who's behind these two. Fiona Siddons, and is currently running P8. So Fiona did a great run in qualifying, finished P9 in qualifying. First race was one to forget because she ended up collecting the wall on the left-hand side of the start-finish straight, and then ended up with no front bumper, no headlights, going into the pit lane entrance. So how many places has Fiona gained? She started 14th in this race, so up 6 spots. Ralph Cullinan, the highest mover up the order so far, currently P5, started all the way down in last, in 19th place. Tom Griffiths has made up 10 spots. Steve Hefford has made up 6, as Hefford is getting a bit racy behind Griffiths as they go through Clark on the run down Brabham, and then into the chicane before Butchers, and then the respective final corners of the circuit at McIntyre's and Duffer's Dip, as Tom Griffiths got it all crossed up and all over the shop, and he's on the gravel. Steve Hefford gets through.
Yeah, one mistake. That's all it takes is one mistake. Darren McLean has got the Irishman of Ralph Cullinan behind him. Yeah, so McCullinan should make that move down into turn 1. He's going to be not making it through this time, and Ralph Cullinan's just got to sit there, but Hefford has still got Griffiths right behind him. This is where kind of what we're expecting the action to be, so we'll see from Steve Hefford whether or not he can hold on from Tom Griffiths as they go down the railway straight and coming into Clark.
Yep, still quite a lot of action with 5 3/4 minutes of this penultimate race of round 7, as Steve gets a little bit twitchy coming out of Clark Curve. That allows Tom Griffiths. Well, we are seeing that McLean and Cullinan are switching places, but there is Pete Newman in the background closing in. We now go back to the battle for P4. Darren McLean doesn't really need to fight Cullinan that much, because he's effectively leading the AMs. Cullinan looks towards the inside, in towards Taylor's. Is Cullinan going to get through on McLean? The answer is yes, and McLean doesn't really fight it that much. Goes, right, Ralph, you just go. In the meantime, Tom Griffiths cleaning up the inside of Steve Hefford, and that is for 6th place on the road. 5th in the AMs, and there is Pete Newman closing in on Fiona Siddons, who's really done very, very well in this race. And will not want to fight Pete Newman that much, but is hoping that maybe the battle for the AM lead might come her way, depending on Darren McLean.
Oh, Steve's got it wrong. Can he hold it?
He did jump. Code round ahoy.
That was one unsettled MX5 there. Newman's looking at the inside of Fiona Siddons. To be honest with you, Fiona, I wouldn't fight it. I'll just let Pete go and then follow him. But that's just me. To be honest, the guy is speedy no matter what you put him in. So Pete Newman still running side by side, swapping places. Siddons on the outside, Newman on the inside. Newman's going to get the job done. Now slot in and follow his line, follow his breaking points, and hope for the best.
And what's more, Pete Newman has the fastest lap of the race so far, 55.383. not in the vein of the previous 2 races where the fastest lap has been sub 55 seconds by a couple of drivers, as Fiona mounts the sausage curbs going through Clark. Gets 2 wheels into the air, but she's still currently running in 9th place, 2nd overall in the AMS, as Mick Barry, who is 4.7 seconds behind Fiona in the number 59. Well, he's ahead of Callum McPherson, and that's going to be the battle for effectively the final step on the virtual rostrum, but also, notwithstanding, Pete Newman now slingshots past Steve Hefford in the run down in towards Taylor's at turn 1. So that's Pete Newman up to 7th overall, but behind Fiona Siddons, Mick Barry battling away with Callum McPherson and Colin Sansom. So that's a 3-way scrap for the final spot in the top 3 for the AM class. There's Sansom right in the wheel tracks of McPherson coming down the railway straight, heading into the left-hander at Clark. And Sansom decided to be a bit advantageous, look to the inside line. McPherson and Sansom both run wide coming at a Clark corner. And through into the chicane, and Colin Sansom was not hanging about, and he's just going to try and fire it up the inside through into McIntyre's. But McPherson says, no you don't, sunshine, and plants it round the outside and keeps the throttle pinned.
Oh, that was so close. Like, McPherson got it wrong and was so squirrely, and we've seen it happen with Steve Hefford, sorry, where he managed to hold it, but he was as soon as you unsettle these little MX5s, you're causing yourself a problem. And it's not the first one, and he ain't going to be the last, and he ain't the only pro, and he ain't the only AM. They've all done it at some point. So I think this circuit, it's almost, you know, the thing is when they say about a level playing field at certain race circuits, this kind of is the level playing field, because at any point they've all got it wrong. Like, you know, so as we saw with Colin Sansom taking the 3rd place in race 2, you know, we've got Darren McLean in 4th overall at the moment, and he's an AM with pros behind him. We've got Wilson down in 14th. Ayres is in the pits. So we think Ayres was hardware, but you get where I mean. It is more of a level ground than some race circuits.
Yeah, very much the case, as we are coming down to the last minute and 10 seconds. PVG has got Tom Griffiths closing in on him at a big race of knots, heading through the railway straight and into Clark Corner. Now this is going to be the battle for 5th on the road, 4th in the pros, and Griffiths really in the wheel tracks of the number 39 of PVG, and they both go onto the red apron coming through the second half of the chicane before the run into Butchers, and both of them pretty much took the same approach, as we are now on to our final lap of this race. So next time around we will have the checkered flag. Dan Hunt has an 8.4 second lead over Miles Owens, make that 8.5 seconds, as PVG and Griffiths still battle away over 5th place on the road. 1.7 seconds behind Darren McLean, who will end the winning streak of Colin Sansom, who is now 4th in the AM side of things behind Mick Barry, but is 3.7 seconds behind. The timer now strikes 0. Dan Hunt is going to see the checkered flag this time around. Out of the final corner, Dan Hunt takes his 2nd win of the night, and it's going to be a complete country mile, because he'll take the win. Miles Owens very shortly comes out of the final corner. The 74 from SimRacers Sweden will take P2. Ralph Cullinan for Result Clothing takes P3. Darren McLean becomes the 2nd different AM winner tonight, ahead of PVG, who pips Tom Griffiths by half a second at the checkered. Pete Newman and Steve Hefford round out the top 8. Fiona Siddons takes her 2nd podium of the night, and what's more, it's a P2 for the number 72. Well, I have to say that was absolutely brilliant there from Fiona Siddons. Mick Barry takes his 1st podium of the night. In 10th, Colin Sansom, just outside of the top 4 in AMS, or top 3 in AMS, finishes 11th, head of Colin McPherson. Andy Littler, who was at the front end of the field, takes 13th, with Jamie Wilson and Steve Hansford rounding out the finishing order of those runners and riders. Top 10 means that Mick Barry will be on reverse grid pole position for race number 4. So from Sanson, we had McPherson, Littler, Wilson, and Hansford rounding out the 15 that finished. So Alan Toon retiring with 4 laps to go. Jamie Ayres out with 10 laps to go. Charles Kellerman, one of the very first early casualties, in 18th. And that, as they say, is that. But we still got one more race to go. Darrell Wright out very, very early indeed. But, well, what can you say about that one? 2 different winners in Pro, 2 different winners in Am. As James, we are not that far away from the final race of this 7th round, which has been absolutely crazy.
Yeah. You can't deny it. You can't, you know, we sit back and we've watched multiple leagues, right? We've seen it all. We're old. We've been around the block more times than a rusty Robin Reliant. It is, and this is on its roof, yeah, being pushed as a wheelbarrow. But this is by far one of the best MX5 leagues I've ever watched. And I've seen a few, and these guys just put it on week in, week out, no matter what the track. It has just been incredible. Race 4, well, I think as history goes, so if we were writing a little bit of a book, as history goes, Race 4 in every round so far for the last 2 years that we've been broadcasting these has always been the most chaotic one. So if we've had complete and utter chaos over the first 3, technically Race 4 should borderline under the barrier of carnage.
Well, this race evening has probably had more chapters than the never-ending story thrown at it so far tonight, you know, like... but also the fact that the amount of people, Miles Owens, I think we have to keep an... Oh, that's not how you want to make that through there, Jamie Ayres or Steve Hefford. I think they're just testing the limits of the chicane. Like, how far can I flig it, as we see Tom Griffiths using an escape road of some description. This is where all the tomfoolery happens, so they can just get rid of all that aggression before they go, right, time to race. But yeah, when we were watching the practice session in the green room, folks, there were multitudes of times where James and I were like going, why did you go through there like that? Or how high were you jumping that car through the chicane?
Yeah. Well, that's one way of doing it. And is he going to... No, it's unsettled. He's not going to... Oh. Do you know, that would have been one way of doing it if he'd held it. If he'd held it, that would have been amazing.
What's happened in the pit lane? Oh, my godfathers. There was the 84. Darrell Wright. Ralph Cullinan in the 32 has got wedged, and his front bumper went... Look, Ralph Cullinan's... Tom Griffiths has yeeted it and jumped the exit of the pit lane. Okay, here comes Darrell Wright, wallop.
Yeah, I think they're trying to use that as a jump to try and clear the hut, but I don't think any of them are going to manage it, to be honest.
No, well, Tom Griffiths definitely didn't need any assist because he literally launched it. Oh.
What is going on?
Here's the interlude, folk. It's like the Muppet Show all of a sudden. Blooming hell.
I'm not even sure. Like, oh, here he comes. No.
Oh, that was Callum. That was Callum McPherson.
Oh,
there's Ralph on the circuit. Here comes Steve Hefford.
Jamie Ayres.
There's Jamie Ayres. Jamie Ayres somersaulting. It was like a triple Salco in an MX5.
What is going on? It's just complete and utter carnage. Here comes Jamie now.
Oh dear. Wallop.
Well,
this is some of the stuff that you don't see, folks. But it even though we've got 35 seconds of the warm-up left to go, I mean, just to see that, Ralph Cullinan literally stuck.
Oh, dear.
I don't know what to think now.
You don't really know what to say either. You've literally Tyzer's in chat just laughing. It's just been. I'm not even sure where Newman's trying to go, to be honest, either. This is
no. He's trying to do a Cullinan, isn't he?
Yeah, this is more interesting than the race at the moment.
Well, as they say, it's not cricket.
No, I'm not sure what it is. I think they're making banger racing out of the MX5s at the moment. So, I don't like the fact that Griffiths has just gone in there literally at full speed.
Oh my God, that guy! Oh, dearie me.
Oh well. What can you say? Right, here's the grid for race 4, bud. And they're all clearly impatient.
Okay. There we go. So, Mick Barry and Fiona Siddons will be on the front row of the grid. Steve Hefford and Pete Newman, Tom Griffiths and PVG will be on rows 2 and 3. Darren McLean, Ralph Cullinan, Miles Owens, Dan Hunt. Then it's Sansom, McPherson, Littler, Wilson, Hansford, Toon, Ayres, Kellyman and Wright. That is the 19-strong grid. Just waiting for a couple more to line on up. Everyone's lined up, ready to rock and roll for race 4 of round 7 here at Knockhill International Reverse. The 5 red lights now will start to ignite as the revs start to rise for the final time this evening. Red lights are on, red lights are out, and we're underway. Good start by Fiona Siddons, who pulls alongside and gets in front of Mick Barry as the field hurtles its way down towards turn 1 here at Taylor's, the 4th and final race of the evening. Steve Hefford in 3rd. Pete Newman has got Tom Griffiths up the inside through at Taylor's through the opening exchange as Andy Littler has dropped a couple of places. So is Steve Hansford running on board with the legend that is Mr. Mick Barry. He's trying to go towards the outside of the railway straight on Fiona Siddons into Clark Curve. He's going to dive up the inside. There's contact between the pair and that's allowed Hefford, that's allowed Griffiths to get through.
Oh, Newman.
Newman has just tumbled and is in the pits. So Pete Newman in the pit lane after the opening exchange. What on earth? Let's have a look at the replay. So, and there's the contact. Newman just lost it all on his own. And does he get collected? No, that was a 720. And he returns to garage. Pete Newman's race might already be at an end. But Steve Hefford leads the way ahead of everybody else. Griffiths in 2nd, PVG in 3rd. Mick Barry rounds out the top 4, leading the AMS ahead of Ralph Cullinan, who is briefly side-by-side with Darren McLean. Dan Hunt is there, Miles Owens is there, so is Colin Sansom, Jamie Wilson, Jamie Ayres running out the top 11, and the top 11 at the moment covered by 5.3 seconds. Literally, it is an absolute line of MX5s coming down the railway straight, heading into the next left-hander here at Clark.
Yeah, they're battling away. They're still fighting here. PVG in 3rd. He's trying to get a hold of Tom Griffiths. Mick Barry is just literally there at the moment in the 4th place, leading the AMS. He's got Ralph Cullen and Darren McLean tucked up, Dan Hunt and Miles Owens. And then we've got a second gap back to Jamie Ayres in this next group of Jamie Wilson, Colin Sanson, Andy Littler, Charles Kellerman. So a lot going on once more. And Mick Barry is now under attack from Ralph Cullinan. Tom Griffiths is under attack as well. It looks like that's happened.
Oh, big incident on the start-finish straight. That's Darren McLean, that's Dan Hunt, that's Miles Owens. And that looks like Dan Hunt only had 3 wheels on that wagon, or the right rear was shoved right up into the wheel arch. So let's have a look at the replay. There's Hunt trying to go around the outside of McLean.
He's going to slide on.
Oh, this is going to be the redress. No, that's not what you needed. Not what you needed. Dan Hunt unfortunately went right wide coming out of Duffer's Dip, turned it around, collected McLean, and then Miles Owens absolutely had nowhere to go, unsighted, collects the rear of Dan Hunt and then ends up hitting the barriers.
Yeah, nowhere to go on that one, unfortunately. That's put Darren McLean and Dan Hunt back into the pits. Miles Owens is out as of now, so it's Ralph Cullinan trying to get in, stay in front of Jamie Ayres with Wilson, Barry, Sanson, Littler. Barry leading the AMS. Mick Barry leading the AMS. There we go. As Colin Sanson comes from nowhere.
Oh, that was only going to end in tears.
Mick Barry not leading the AMS.
I saw Sansom closing in on a big race of knots, and I went, oh, please don't send it like that into T1. And he just went for it. Race 4 again providing all the madness in the MX5s for UK SimRacers once again. But Steve Hefford, keep it nice and cool. Don't lose the back end of the car like you nearly did just then.
Yeah, Steve Hefford's had a really rough one in conjunction with how he normally has. And now he's got PVG, who hasn't had a rough one. He's had a good one. Pete's trying to push Steve down into Mr. Tom Griffiths. Griffiths trying to run away at the moment. Jamie Ayres is trying to get away from Andy Littler, and the ever-full sending Colin Sanson to the point of where he's going to send it again. And he's made it through this time. So Colin Sanson's sends are working at the moment. Steve Hefford, however, is going to have to try and fight with PVG and and up 2 wheels, so there we go.
Yeah, PVG loses all that momentum, and now he's got Ralph Cullinan trying to chase him down as well. So that's allowed Steve Hefford to have a little bit of a breathing room, but PVG going through into McIntyre's was a bit more aggressive on the sausage curve on the left-hand side, and now he's going to be in the wheel tracks of Steve Hefford coming out of Duffer's Dip, and now he's going to pull to the inside. Now, is he going to get the side draft from the 72? Looks to be the case. Yep, PVG just noses ahead of Steve Hefford on the run down this slight descent through into Taylor's. Is going to put the anchors on. He's neat and tidy up through turn 1 at Taylor's, but this is allowing Cullinan to make it a 3-way brawl over P2. Whereas Tom Griffiths has got a lead of just the best part of nearly 1.2 seconds. Colin Sanson, Andy Littler and Charles Kellyman round out the top 3 in the AMS. Kellyman we haven't really seen that much, mainly because he's been involved in unfortunate incidents, but did you notice Steve Hefford brakes were fully locked on going into the chicane, so he didn't rear end PVG.
Yeah, that's the last thing he wanted to do, wasn't it? Would send PVG around again and have the contact with your teammate. You know the first rule of racing, that's why we say it considerably. Nope, hold on. Constantly is don't take out your teammate. And we have seen that this season. So, you know.
Yes.
You know, we got the carnage of race 4 out the way earlier on. Let's hope the next 8 minutes, you know, a little bit more subdued. It looks like at the moment they are. We've got the full send Colin Sanson. He's leading the AMS at the moment. He's closing on to the back of Jamie Ayres, who's got Jamie Wilson in front. So 2 little pockets there. You can see 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then 5, 6 and 7. So we'll keep an eye on these pockets and see which one sparks off first.
Yeah, so we have got 4 cars out. Darren McLean, Miles Owens and Dan Hunt through that turn, that final turn. Lap 2 incident are out. Pete Newman is also out on the opening lap, so we still have 15 runners and riders. I'm going to do this just to be on the safe side, James. I've just knocked on wood just to make sure that things are a little bit more lucky in terms of no one having big incidents, but you never can tell with the UK SimRacers. Ralph Cullinan in 4th has just set the new fastest lap of the race of 55.522. He is closing in on Steve Hefford and PVG, who are 3rd and 2nd respectively. Tom Griffiths looking to pick up his 2nd win of the night. Overall, he won race 2. Dan Hunt, who's out of the race, won races 1 and 3 before that big incident early doors in this final race of the evening. But Ralph Cullinan also looking, he's gathering time on Steve Hefford, and as you rightly said, Steve hasn't had the best run of luck tonight, and the car doesn't seem to be as planted as the 3 around him. No.
He's had a rough time in it, to be fair, and I'm glad he's having a decent race 4, because he probably does deserve to have that. You know, he's had a bit of a rough one, so for him it is always tough. Jamie Ayres has just been passed by Colin Sanson there, and I'd be interested to see, there it is, and how this one panned out. Oh, Jamie's gone off. There you go. That's going to allow Colin to make his move, and he does get it done down into Taylor's as Jamie's gone unfortunately off the side of the circuit, and that allowed Colin through. I thought there was some big send from Colin because he's done it twice already this evening. Unfortunately not. Mick Barry, Darryl Wright having a good old battle here further down the order. This is for 14th, 13th and 14th. Cullinan's just passed Steve Hefford. Is that because that's happened? And just as I say, I'm glad he's having a good race 4.
He does that in the chicane.
Yeah, and then does that. And then unfortunately does that. And can...
Code Brown and then some. That was more like Code Brown and clean up on R3 at the same time there for poor old Steve, as now he's got Jamie Wilson closing in. Sansom's got Ayres looking up the inside through a Taylor's, so a four-way scrap over what is now 4th place, but also there's a big old gap between Jamie Ayres and Andy Littler, with Littler being 2nd in the AMS ahead of Kellyman, who's 3rd in AMS, 9th overall. And then the we've only got 5 of the 8 pros still in this. Jamie Ayres had the throttle completely flat to the floor, coming out. Look at that damper rebound on that 46 Mazda. My godfathers, that was epic.
Yeah, that was some jump and a half from Jamie Ayres on that one. Absolutely incredible. Manages to keep the car going though, which is even more amazing, as Jamie Wilson and Steve Hefford battling it out here consistently, as Colin Sanson's in the background trying to close up. Wilson's trying to muscle Hefford to give him the inside line. Didn't quite get it, but he's going to get the run out down the railway. He's going to tuck him behind him into the draft. Is he going to make that move down into Clark, Alex? That's going to be the question.
Yeah, that is the big question. I mean, coming back to Jamie Ayres' literal high jump through the chicane, if that was real life, I think he would have bruised his coccyx after that one. Because it was just like literally like yeet up into the air, no wings. It's like, yes, Knockhill air traffic control. Yes, Jamie Ayres, you are cleared for takeoff.
Yeah, that would have literally put the 4 suspension arms up through the back of the car, and they would have been popping out, wouldn't they? Like nobody's business, as he just absolutely levelled that MX5 here. Hefford is under deep pressure at the moment. He's going on the inside into Taylor's. Wilson trying. Sanson's there as well. The front 3 are kind of settled. Tom Griffiths, Pete Van Gaal and Ralph Cullinan with Steve Hefford. That is a back marker in the middle there. I believe that's Alan Toon. It is Tooney in the middle. So yeah, the battle is coming from here.
Yeah. But Steve Hefford, a tighter line taken by the number 72 Momo car, whereas Wilson, the number 87 Team Chimera driver, look, even the rebound on his suspension isn't exactly being that cooperative, because Ayres has come back into this. Oh, Steve Hefford just loses the back end, and now Wilson's going to try and go round the outside at Duffer's Dip. They make contact. Wilson's off the circuit. And is he going to end up in the pit lane? He's going to narrowly avoid the barriers. Heavens to Betsy. That was close.
Can I have my underpants back, please, Mr. Wilson? It is literally... Oh, my God. He saw the wall coming at him. That's a scary thing. I would have sat there and just gone, oh, my God, this is going to hurt. This is literally going to hurt here. He's got the inside coming up, see the beautiful sunset of Scotland. On it goes. He's trying to hold it. He's trying to hold it. He's trying to hold it. There's the wall. There's the wall. Oh!
I just like the way how you just came out with the words, can I have my underpants back, please? He was just like, he was literally, he was bouncing up and down sideways by the seat of his pants. Steve Hefford goes sideways as well. Oh, they do say things coming threes, and he's got another tap up the inside courtesy of Jamie Ayres, and now Jamie Wilson comes back at them, and Steve Hefford manages to clear the wall, unlike, a little bit earlier than Wilson did. He went, I'm not having that happen to me. Sorry, mate, I'm not gonna have those shenanigans happen. My godfathers, I mean, this race has gone past gone a lot quicker than the other 3 tonight. And Steve Hefford and Jamie Ayres, oh, this could end up being nasty, I think.
Oh, teammates. Teammates,
yeah.
No love lost.
That's why I didn't say the word teammates. It could happen to anybody.
Oh, absolutely.
But in the meantime, Tom Griffiths has nearly a 2.8 second lead over PVG. Ralph Cullinan rounds out the top 3. Colin Sansom on the verge of getting his 3rd win of the night in the AM class, and is ahead of Jamie Wilson. Wilson is coming back at him. Look at the run the 87's got, as Steve Hefford's got a run on Jamie Ayres, coming over the crest here down the start-finish straight. It's going to be 2 to go. And has Wilson got up the inside of Sansom through at turn 1 at Taylor's? The answer's a resounding yes. But Sansom is going to start coming back at him down the railway straight, as they have got one of the back markers in front, which is Tooney, the number 65. And this is going to be a bit close for comfort coming out of Clark Curve, because they've now got the run down Brabham into the chicane. They've got to be very, very mindful now of what happens. They all start flinging it in with reckless abandon, because this is the penultimate lap of the race. Tom Griffiths now will start the white flag lap on lap number 16. And Jamie Wilson's trying to get past Alan Toon out of the final corner at Duffer's Dip. And Colin Sansom now gets into the wheel tracks. Jamie Ayres fancies an opportunity of doing so as well. And here goes Sansom again for the lick the stamp and send it up into the inside of Taylor's through on Wilson. Is he going to get through? That's going to open the door for Jamie Ayres. They nearly banged door panels coming out of Taylor's. And they still survive for a few more corners as Sansom slots in behind Wilson on the run down the railway straight for the final lap. Our race leader, Tom Griffiths, is making his way through. There's a touch between Sansom. Wilson goes wide down a Clark Curve. Still keeps the throttle pin. And Jamie Ayres round the outside of Colin Sansom. Incredible stuff for Sansom through the chicane. Makes it 2 abreast. Sansom goes exit stage left. But Griffiths wins the final race of the night here amidst bedlam, amidst madness here on the final lap of the race. Griffiths takes another win. Cullinan's going to take P2. PVG rounds out the top 3 overall. It's going to be Jamie Wilson that's going to take the run to 4th to the line and picks up that position ahead of Jamie Ayres. So let's have a look at the replay here. So Sansom decides, yeah, I'm going to throw it up the inside. Ayres goes, I'm on the line. Sansom's like literally off the circuit. Manages to keep it out of the barriers. There's Andy Littler trying to close in on him. Sansom gets away with it by the paint on the body panels and does pick up another win in AM, but by the skin of his underpants.
Oh, just insane. Literally insane. I have no words for what we've just witnessed in that one. Oh, hello.
Oh dear, that was the 84 of Darryl Wright.
Darryl Wright,
and this is with
nasty
Nick
rascal.
He's come to, that was with Nick.
Oh dear, he's going to catch Fiona Siddons. Oh!
Bit of afters.
There we go. Harmless afters, I'm sure, but gee whiz, that was quite a gripping moment. But there we go. There's the results.
Tom Griffiths takes his second win of the night. So 2 different winners from 2 different drivers. Here this evening on round 7 from Knockhill Reverse for the UkSimracers MX5 Season 2, the spring season for 2024. Head of Ralph Cullinan and PVG rounding out the top 3. Jamie Wilson, Jamie Ayres and Steve Efford round out the top 6 overall, and also the top 6 for pros. Colin Sansom takes his 3rd win in the AM class tonight. Head of Andy Littler, Colin Sansom having a big old scare when coming into contact through the chicane for the final lap with Jamie Ayres and keeping it out of the barriers. Charles Kellyman from Optical Green rounds out the top 3 in AM and also the top 9 overall. Steve Hansford in 10th, head of Callum McPherson, Fiona Siddons, Mick Barry, Darryl Wright. So Alan Toon ending up being the last of the classified finishers, just 1 lap down, with Darren McLean, Dan Hunt and Miles Owens and Pete Newman out very, very early in the race. Yeah, I completely agree, James. I have lost words. I'm lost for words right now, because that race, that final race tonight, was completely mad.
And I will give you an interesting fact of the evening, as I generally will do. There is not one driver who has finished on the podium in all 4 races. Not one.
That's your stat for the night. We are going to give the drivers a couple of minutes if they do want to jump in for a quick natter afterwards. But I think after the exertion here at Knockhill, it has been a testing one, not just for myself and James for working with the cameras, but everybody else. But let's give you a rundown of some of the upcoming broadcasting. Well, at this moment in time, as we are closing things out here for round 7, Prospect E-Racing's Racing League Tier 1 has got round 8 at Qatar. Then we've got the BSC Season 10 Spring Season, round 11 at Dover Motor Speedway. Tomorrow night, we've got Road Atlanta, round 5, Season 4 of the JPB GT4 Series. Prospects E-Racing League Tier 2 goes to Qatar tomorrow night. Then we've got Radical Race Series Season 2 of 2024, round 7 at Interlagos. We've got the Virtual World Sports Car Championship 2024 this coming Saturday, 90 minutes to Spa. The OGRL Coffee Cup, round 10 at Sebring for their first season. IFL Super Formula Lights Series live for the Dutch Grand Prix from Zandvoort on Sunday. And then, of course, we also have 3 more other broadcasts, one of which is a firm favourite around a lot of us here at JPB. IGP Fun, Super Formula Light, Season 2, Round 7 at the Hungaroring. The BSC Spring Season, Season 10, Round 12 from Kansas Speedway. And then on early Monday morning, we'll have Round 4 of the Sim Racing for Simpletons Super Formula Season from the Hungaroring. Well, on behalf of James Parfitt and myself, Alex Goldschmidt, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe and hit the notification bell whilst you're at it. And, well, race hard, race fair, and if in doubt, flat out. We'll see you next time. Good night.
Cool.